Call this meeting to order. Let's start this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we do not have a consent agenda, but our first item of business is to consider the minutes of the March 8th, 2022 meeting. I trust that we've all reviewed those, and if there's no corrections, we could have a motion to
Move we approve. Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Donna, we're going to hand it over to you for the 2021 financial report.
Okay, and you're going to drive my program for me? Yes, ma'am. Okay. I will start off by saying this information is based on unaudited financial statements. That sound like the little bottom of the commercial?
Nothing like that.
You didn't say it fast enough.
You didn't say it fast enough.
Yeah.
You understood what I said. Well, our first slide is just a quick overview of total revenue entity-wide. We received $41,735,000 last year. And this came in the form of taxes, 34%, golf course 3%, wastewater 15%. You can kind of see how everything fits in. On our expenditures, the other side, we spent $42,489,000. And you can see that we overspent what we brought in by $754,000. And our expenses are made up of salaries and benefits, and that's 38%, which I think I mentioned before. That is pretty good for total expenses in that area. A lot of industries are over 50%. Contractual services, which is our utilities, maintenance, training, commodities are supplies, debt service, 17%. Just kind of gives you an idea of where everything goes.
Hey, Donna, just really quick, on the revenue, on the top there, on that green, what is, am I just missing a, you know?
That's the golf course. It's over here. Sorry.
Oh,
My
okay.
line didn't,
Okay, all right.
Line disappeared behind the
my
grid.
line disappeared.
Okay, that's fine.
It went off track.
Thank you.
The next one is, we'll get down a little bit more just to the general fund. And this is our revenue for the general fund. You can see it's mainly made up of taxes, different kinds of taxes by 66%. We have fines and forfeitures at 1.9, that's municipal court. Charges for services, 8%, that's ambulance fees, cemetery, rural fire services. License and permits are your business permits, your electric, fireworks, stuff like that. Just to kind of give you a breakdown of what everything is. The next slide goes into the 66% that are tax revenues. Of that, 40% is property tax. And then 44% are the two sales tax put together. And you can see franchise tax is about 11% of that. You can see that our sales tax is going at a good incline there. We like that. That has helped us a lot this past year. The next one is some of our other, just to kind of give you an idea of what's been brought in. They're all kind of the same. They're down this year compared to maybe 2019. But if you look over here on use of money, you only see 3 columns. You don't see a blue one. That's our interest earned. Can you see we didn't get any? We got like $4,000 last year. So we're used to getting around $400,000 to $500,000, so that did hurt. And to show you just a little bit worse of how it was, the next slide, you can see this is our interest on idle funds. You can see where we went down, down, down in the 2008 recession. Took about 8 years for us to start coming up from that. We went up a pretty good steep incline there, and then we're back down to lower than low. So hopefully that will go up. We have seen our interest on our earnings go up the last month. Instead of 0.005 on our overnight, it's now 0.8.
Oh.
So we're excited.
Yes.
Can't believe we're excited about that, but we are.
Take it where you can get it.
That's right. The next slide is our general fund expenditures. And about 55% of our expenditures of the general fund are public safety. Engineering is almost 3%, street is 10%, administrative is 16%, but administrative is where we pay our transfers, like 1/2 of our sales tax has to go to the Eco Devo fund for economic development and infrastructure. That goes through administrative. Our golf course debt is paid through there. Our equipment reserves for the golf course and Meridian are paid through there. So that's why that's a little higher. And then we get to the numbers. Usually, I've told you before in the past, our budget stays around 98% revenue and 93% expenditures. Well, you can see this year we hit just over 100% of our revenue. And that was mainly because of our sales tax. Sales tax was 10% over last year, or $524,000. Expenses, though, were up. Everything's going up. They were at 98.7. And you'll see that the closer we close that contingency window and try to get just to the bare bones in a budget, we have to really watch it, because I was really nervous coming through December, making sure we did not go over budget. We did in one area in administrative, but that is the, I think I have a slide on that here in a minute. I'll show you that. But you'll also remember we transferred $1.4 million of the ARPA funds to reimburse us for our fire EMS salaries. So if we hadn't had that, our our unencumbered ending cash balance would have been about $3 million. So we'd have been right at that 15% that we have to stay for policy. So we're doing good at 22%. The next slide shows how close we were to our budget. Everybody's really close to the top, but that one administrative, you'll see we went over, and that is the sales tax that we had to, whatever we get in, we have to pay half of it out. So that went $270,000 over what we thought we would get in budget. So we'll have to watch that in our 23 budget.
So even though we did well, it gets basically a pass-through. So we still have to, so we underestimated the amount of sales tax revenue we were going to get in the original budget, and that's why it's thrown off this way.
But luckily, we're fine. We
Yeah,
didn't
so
over
that's
budget.
a good problem in this case.
Yes, it is. The next one just kind of shows where we've been the last 4 years with our requirement of 15%. And if we had not had the ARPA funds, we would be lower than we were in 2018. The next one we'll go through is wastewater. Just a real quick chart to show you where we are in our revenue. We missed our budget by just $100,000, so we're doing very well. A little bit lower than the last couple of years, 19 and 20. Our plant upgrade fee is staying right there, kind of where it's always at, $1,840,000. Just barely missing our budget by $21,000. So get to the numbers here. As you know, we budget for contingencies in all of our utilities, and it doesn't hurt anything to put those in the budget, because we're not pulling money in thinking we might need it for something, like we would with property tax in the general fund. That's why we're getting closer on our contingencies there. So we had predicted maybe 1.4 loss, but we only had $764,000 loss. And I say only because if you look at the transfers, $500,000 of that was going to our reserves. For our equipment reserve, all the little savings we poke money into when we need it, we have it. We did pay out about $3.7 million in debt, and in 26 we'll get rid of about $1.5 million of that annual payment when we pay off that plant upgrade. So really, we're doing pretty good. Expenses were up to 90% of our budget. Usually they're around 87 or something like that. And you can see the fund balance, we're always above our 5% we have to have. It is going down a little bit, but it's nothing dire, and we're poking a lot of money in our savings, so that's good. Not near enough. The next one is water revenue. And you can see we almost hit our budget there, 13,000 under, doing a lot better than in 19 and 20. On this one, we're down about $241,000. Last year was 195, and the year before that was 156 in the red. So we're kind of slowly getting a little bit worse off. But again, we had $381,000 go into reserves in our savings. So you kind of take that into consideration where we're standing. Debt's only $552,000 for the debt comes out of the water right now. That will go up by about $180,000 when we get our new water storage, ground
Ground level
storage
water tank.
tank.
I always say that wrong. Our expenses were at 85, not bad for the way everything went up this year. And we are keeping our ratio up there. You can see our balance is starting to slide down, though. Next is sanitation. We're about 19,000 over budget on that one. One of the things, in the next page, you'll see on the numbers, we're having a lot more roll-off dumpster rentals. Some of the commercial customers are coming and wanting us to, so we're getting more revenue off that. So that's what the 143 over budget is. Our rental fees are up a little bit, so we did come in right at 100% of our budget, about 20,000 over actually what we predicted, or what we hoped for, I should say that. Our expenses, we did come in at 63,000 above, negative, I should say, but it's down from our prior years. 2020, we had $240,000 to the good. 19, we had 297. In 18, we had 308. So our expenses are catching up with our revenue, especially with the way they're rising. We're not having near enough income left over at the end.
Were there any transfers to savings on that?
Yes, there was $285,000 transferred to reserve. And you can see, this is one of my favorite funds. It's always right up there, staying good for now. The next one we'll go to is airport. And they've had a good run this year on fuel sales. I think people are flying again. We're over budget by about $60,000. Our airport leases aren't quite making the budget yet, but we are going up every year. So we're moving in the right direction. One thing you'll see, we had to buy a lot of fuel to sell a lot of fuel. So we did go over budget in that line item, but we were covered in other line items. We're getting really close to, we're not keeping our balance as a percentage of expenditures at the 5% like we're supposed to. One of the things we had this year, as you're all aware, is the Hangar W costs. We had, our lease came in at $56,000. We pay about $120,000 a year on that. So we were getting about $56,000 off the lease, and we had that escrow that we were using, and we only had about $20,000 that left, and we used it up last year. So we had to pay out about $40,000 of our operating fund monies to cover the rest of the payment. And we've already spent another $20,000 this year on interest. So getting this sold is perfect timing. We still did make money. If you notice how we went from the beginning cash balance of $41,000 and we made 13, but we're at 22. It's not because I added wrong. But one thing that goes into revenue, we are a modified accrual. So every time we sell fuel, it's income, so we count it right away. But our accounts receivable balance, people don't pay monthly on their airport fuel like they do on their utility bills. So it can go for several months before people pay that fuel, which can get up there. So that's on the books, but it's not cash in hand yet. So that's why the cash, we had about $140,000 in AR receivables at the end of the year. So we're trying to get those to come in a little bit faster.
What's your ratio on that, your quick ratio?
I couldn't tell you right.
90 days, 60 days?
No, I'd say it was maybe longer than that even. Some of them don't pay very often. When they do, they pay a big chunk, but we carry it for a long time, and
We
I
have
don't like
one or
that.
two particular tenants that we've had some serious discussions with the last few months about, we don't necessarily have that policy in place of 60 or 90-day accrual, but if they can't start paying in a much more timely manner, then we're going to have to do something. And we probably should implement a policy anyway, just as best practice.
Right.
Yeah.
But Yeah, we have a couple of particular tenants who we almost feel like they're starting to abuse their privileges with us, and we don't appreciate that. So we want to be a good partner, but
Can't carry you that long.
yeah, because sometimes it's $40,000-$60,000
Yeah.
that they owe us or pay us at a time. And they always pay in the end, but yeah.
Until they
so-
don't.
Until they don't, yeah. The one time they don't. So.
Yeah, so that's something we're working on.
Thank you.
But you can see our airport fund balance, the next slide, is hurting right now. So we do need to do something about that. And we did get a $23,000 grant last year, thank goodness. That helped us keep out of the red. So that's how that's working. The next thing is the golf course. This is another one of our favorite funds this year. You never know how it's going to go, but it's been going up the last couple. You can see course and grounds just going up.
Everything.
We came in about 100, the next slide, we came in about 120,000 over budget and spent only 94,000. But we did, if you remember, we increased the budget for more expenditures, around 100,000, so we could buy chemicals and stuff, get it ordered early because it's taken so long to get anything. But we are doing good there. You can see we have about $542,000 in our fund balance. This is stuff that the commission can use to help the golf course get up to snuff. And we're staying at our 5%, very well. Now, the last one is the Meridian Center. And I would say of all the industries hurt by COVID, this industry's been hurt the worst. It's just not coming back. It's about the same as it was in 2020. We had 69% of our budget. He did keep the expenses down to 61%. He's trying very hard. We still have maintained our 5% balance reserve like we have to have. EcoDevo did help them out an extra 100,000 like they had to do in 2020. But I have been told that they've noticed quite an uptick the first of 2022. So hopefully this is the push coming back. And I went through that very fast. Does anybody have any questions or anything to clarify?
Not specifically on numbers, I was just wondering how is it determined how much is put into reserves or for each fund or each budget?
Each utility has a listing of all their equipment for equipment reserve's sake. And they go by how many years that have of life and when they think they need it replaced. And
Okay.
then they divide that, and that's how much we need per year. And there's a running total cap, because sometimes it'll go way down when you buy a big piece like a big
Yeah.
fire engine, and then they'll have to build back up again. And we can look out so many years to see how we're doing. Like, in 5 to 10 years, the fire department's going to be kind of in the red if we don't do something soon, because some of their big trucks are coming due again. So we
Okay.
kind of have to watch that.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, thank you for that, Donna. Item number 3 tonight is sale of Hangar W. Chris and Brian are going to take that together in whatever order you'd like to, Chris.
I'll set it up. Okay. Brian will jump in with anything I miss. So Donna touched on it during her report in terms of the sale of Hangar W as being one of the items. As you recall, in a joint meeting with the county, you instructed staff to sell the Hangar W. And the reason why we have so many steps on this, there's a few just interesting issues with it being at the airport. One, we can sell the hangar, but we can't sell the ground underneath it. That's subject to a lease. Also, the land is co-owned by both the city and the county. And this building, this improvement was financed by the county's PBC. So we got a number of steps to go through with the sale. But anyway, staff put it out, request for proposal. We received one from Avcon. It was approved by staff. We've negotiated all the terms. The county's handled the contract for the sale of the improvement. Myself and staff have negotiated the terms of a ground lease. So there's 3 items there. The first is the purchase agreement, and that is just basically the sale of the improvement of Hangar W, the building. The second item is a long-term ground lease, very similar to other ground leases you've seen at the airport. It's for a 50-year term. carries approximately $7,000 per year in rent revenue. The third is an access and travel easement, and that's just simply a requirement for Avcon to have title insurance. They need to know that they can access their property since there's a public right-of-way that connects to the hangar. And then finally, the fourth step, and that's not on the agenda, but again, as part of the process, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve dissolving the ground lease to the county's PBC. We don't yet have that instrument, but because we don't meet for another 3 weeks and the county is meeting every week, I just wanted to get that okay, and I can set that up after we get to the third item. So I would stand for any questions initially, and then we can kind of go through step by step. And Brian, you can come up and what do you got?
I have nothing.
Okay.
You covered it all very well.
Great.
Many words.
Okay, so the purchase agreement, again, we're not a signatory on this agreement, but we do need to approve it. And further, not only would I ask you to approve the sales agreement, but I would ask you to approve any instrument approved by the city attorney to facilitate the sale of the hangar as part of your motion.
Okay. Does anybody have any discussion on that? If not, we can take a motion to consider the purchase agreement and to give Chris what?
And actually, it would be the mayor to sign it after I approve it. If there's any instrument that the title company would say that would sign off on the city's interest in the hangar.
What Chris said.
Excellent.
I would add, and gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong, just for the benefit and for the record, that the sale price is what is left owed on the bonds. So this will pay it off.
Wait,
Yeah, with a surplus, yeah.
There might be about 70,000, Anthony thought, which might just cover what we just spent out of our operational
Oh.
fund.
Yeah.
So that's where it will go back into the
Interest
airport.
accrued and that kind of thing. So we were real pleased with that.
That's a great point. I should have included that. The sale price is the 1.2 million, and as Donna touched on and Kelly, that's how the money would be divided.
And we're getting no tax revenue on it now, and we will get tax revenue.
On the improvement, that's right.
Correct, back on the tax rolls. Win for all of us, I think.
The second item is the ground lease. That was not in your packet. I apologize. It was a late addition this afternoon, but we would ask for a motion to approve the ground lease.
Okay, do we do these at once, or do you need each one of them separate?
We'll do 4 motions.
Okay, so on the first one, if there's somebody that wants to make a motion on that one, we can get it done.
That's right.
I will move that we approve item A plus the verbiage that Chris just said.
Thank you.
I second.
All right, there's a motion and a second and a third
Fourth.
and a fourth. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. All right, item B, consider a long-term ground lease for Hangar W.
I would move we approve the ground lease for Hangar W.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. And item C is to consider an access and travel easement for Hangar W.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then a motion to take up a new item of business, which would be to consider action regarding the county PBC lease.
I was just going to say any opposed, same
You're on.
sign. I feel like I
Sorry.
need to say it or you're going to throw me off. Okay. Although all 5 voted yes initially. So item D, we do need to add or make a motion to add an item to
I
the
second
agenda.
that. Well, did you have the motion? Did you motion?
I will if I can. Yeah, I'll make the motion. Okay.
And I second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. All right, so this motion, Chris, can you tell us again? what it
Yeah,
is?
absolutely. It would be to authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute any instruments approved by the city attorney to terminate the lease with the county PBC.
Thank you for that verbiage.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, there's a motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank
If
you.
anyone would like a copy of that ground lease, I can get you a copy after the meeting.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chris
Commissioners.
and Brian, yeah, for your
Brian.
work on that. All right, item number 4 tonight is consider options for the future of recycling in Newton. And I'll just say ahead of time, Suzanne is waiting for a phone call from her son, who is at basic training. And so if she has permission, if that phone call comes, we will just take a short break regardless of where we're at in the meeting, and she can go have that phone call. So
Thank you. Okay, let's dive in. So as you all know, the County Commission made a change to recycling here recently, and that was after a discussion that they had and the information that the county staff provided. I included in your packet. It was the county administrator's agenda item report. And what they decided to do was to end recycling in Harvey County, and that was due to the cost of the transferring of recyclables and then the tipping fees for recyclables. And that all, as you remember, here about a year ago got stirred up. And that was due to the fact that recyclables were not being used for certain things. And so the cost to get rid of them was more. I think that market has maybe turned a bit. And then the county's contractor that was running what is really a transfer facility for recyclables here in Newton. It started out when we started recycling back in November of 1999 when we started. It was a separating facility. So the recycling facility was really a municipal recycling facility where things were all separated. And then after several years, the different contractor came in and they then started just transporting those recyclables to South Hutch where they did separation at that point. So now it was used as a transfer facility. The tipping fee has went up enough that the county decided, okay, we're not going to recycle in Harvey County anymore. Then comes the city needing to make decisions, and all the cities in Harvey County, because it used to be mandatory, remember? And then they made a change that it wasn't mandatory anymore. And then we went through an issue where we had too many contaminated items in the stream. And so certainly we had a lot of people drop out. And we have approximately 1,900 folks that are recycling today. And at the very back of this portion of the packet on page 60, I included the tonnage that we have had in recyclables over the years. Well, not from the very beginning, but since we started single stream, this is our tonnage rates. Or not rates, but the amount. And as we had to start, we went from mandatory to voluntary. And then when we needed to start inspecting each recycle bin, that means that a whole lot less people were recycling. So we only had about 310 tons of recyclables last year. So now, as the different cities are deciding are they going to keep recycling or not, we are unique in the fact that Newton has provided collection services here in town for years. Many years prior to me being here as well. And it has been a great service for us. Our staff does a great job. And as you know, our trash collection or our sanitation fund does a whole lot more than just pick up trash. We have a whole litany of things that are paid from that fund, along with recycling. And that would be like the tree trimming program that we instituted just 2 years ago. Our new bulky item stickering program, all of those kind of things are kind of wrapped into that sanitation fund. Because we do collection of recyclables and all of the other smaller cities in Harvey County did not, they were able to just ask their hauler, their private hauler, can you pick up our recyclables and then take them someplace else besides the Harvey County transfer station for recyclables? And they have all looked at their private haulers, and they are going to do that. For us, our hauler is us. And so if we were going to transport those recyclables someplace else, we would have to have a place to take our trucks to dump those recyclables out, and then to pick that material up, put it into a truck, and then transport it somewhere where to a recycling facility where they're going to take it and separate it and then sell off the product. Okay? So what I've tried to do for you is lay out some options, and remember that the current tipping fees for recyclables at Harvey County is $20 per ton. When the county looked at the change, if they were going to need to deal with those recyclables and take them someplace else, other than their current contractor providing it, they were looking at $170 per ton. The Waste Connections tipping fee at their facility in Hutch is $98 a ton, and that's where the recyclables have been going. The current trash tipping fee at Harvey County Transfer Station is $36 a ton. Those numbers become important when we start looking at all of the different options, okay? We talked about how much recyclables we have generated. As of March 15th, we had, and this changes daily, so this was as of the date of the memo, we had approximately 1,900 recycling customers. And we talked about how it decreased over time. So then we start looking at the different options. Option number one would be to end the city recycling program. No longer would we provide curbside collection of recyclables. And I've kind of listed the facts about what would occur here. We would change out our lids on our recycling containers and use them for trash. There's a cost per lid, but then in the long run, we have more carts available. We would eliminate one unfilled sanitation equipment operator position. We would rotate our recycling trucks into the trash collection side of the house for residential and growing requests for commercial collection. And then we would consider aluminum can drop-off sites and maybe even cardboard dumpsters that might be collected by other private haulers. Because we do have a contingency in town that wants to recycle, and so that would give them some option. I will tell you that before we started recycling, we had some of those drop-off sites, and they became very unsightly, and people would drop all kinds of things, and that's what got us kind of moving forward, because we had enough people wanting to recycle to do the curbside recycling. So that one's iffy, and there might be a fee associated with that. I tried to list for you pros and cons. So the pros, would be a simpler operation for us. 75% of our existing customer base is currently not recycling. So this plan is appealing to them, just, getting rid of it. And if we were going to continue recycling, the cost is going to go up to recycle. And so we might have even more that would drop out. So it would be even more than 75% that might be in favor. It's the least expensive option. It would provide our staff more time to address bulky item stickering program. We could refocus on our commercial trash collection. It would be quick to implement, and we do need to be quick because all of this changes at the county level the end of April. We have to make a change. And then there would be no recycling fee increase. The cons, we still have 25% of our customer base that loses the option to recycle, that wants to recycle. But customers could contract with any company for recycling collection, causing higher prices to those wanting to recycle. So that's kind of a con, if you will. And it's going to create more heavy trucks if everybody has a different person that's coming to collect their recyclables. And that has an impact on our streets. So that's option one. Okay. Option two is to continue curbside recycling and then haul those recyclables to a recycling transfer facility. So it's the same collection, but we add a new city crew to haul to that MRF that would be out of county. Now, this is a big undertaking, and it's not an operation that we have done in the past. And in order to do that, we would need to provide a proposal to Harvey County for Newton crews to use the Harvey County facility, the building that is there that was used as originally to separate trash, that is currently being used just for transferring recyclables. Recyclables, not trash, sorry. And so then we would dump and then reload those recyclables from our trash trucks or our recycle trucks. Then they go into a semi-truck with a walking trailer and they get shipped off somewhere else where they're going to do the separation, and then they market the product, okay? We would need to purchase a truck, and we'd have to hire new full-time staff to perform loading and hauling duties. This is going to be an individual that would need a Class A CDL, so it's a little bit different than who we have today. Then we would need to determine if it's best to haul to South Hutch, to Topeka, or Northeast Kansas. Tipping fees are lower in Northeast Kansas, but then you have the transporting cost. So there's a lot of details to this, and I have just touched the surface in the last week since the decision was made. So we wanted to go over with you so we could get a decision which way you wanted to head, because there's a lot of work ahead of us on some of these options. We would then consider twice monthly pickup only of recyclables, not of trash, but of recyclables, okay? And this option assumes 1,900 recycling customers and would assume that recycling rates would apply to those recycling, not to all solid waste customers, because there's going to have to be an increase. And so we would assume we would increase the increased costs that we're going to have to add on, we would pass on to those wanting to recycle. The pros of this option, 25% of the recycling customer base, they have an option. And Newton has control of the recycling transfer process. I'm calling that a pro, okay? The cons, 75% of the customer base that's not interested in recycling, but this uses up many of our resources to make this happen. It's a much more complicated to provide the hauling service in addition to the collection. It's the most expensive option. The upfront truck purchase would be several months out for delivery. I mean, we're looking at 8 to 12 months probably. And so I'm not sure what the meantime is going to look like. That's something we're going to have to figure out. The fee increase to recyclers only, we would expect that it's going to be $7 to $8 per month increase. That's very rough right now, okay? And you could see in the drop of the number of customers that want to recycle due to the cost, which then is going to increase the cost per customer. You with me? Okay, last option. We would send out a request for proposals for recycling collection and hauling out of county. So item A here, I have one change to it. I caught it here before the meeting. We would send out an RFP and select a hauler and contract with a private hauler to collect recyclables and haul them out of county, not haul them to the county building. So scratch the building there. They're going to be hauling those recyclables out of here. They are not going to be dumping at the county building. We're going to have some hauler, Waste Connections, and Nisley, somebody that would come and pick up only our recycling customers, pick up the recyclables only from our recycling customers that want to volunteer to recycle. They'll take those recyclables someplace outside of Harvey County, whether it's to their own facility or to somebody else's facility, whether it's South Hutch, whether it's Topeka, whether it's Northeast Kansas. I'm not sure that we care. But we get the recyclables out of here to a facility where they can be separated and then they could be marketed and sold. The private hauler would provide a 96-gallon recycle cart to each resident that's recycling, and the hauler would provide twice monthly pickup only, so it's different than what you have today. They would want a long-term agreement, probably 4 to 5 years. And we would continue to bill this through city utility billing. So let's say we keep the 1,900 customers. So we're going to have 1,900 customers times whatever the fee is going to be. And they are going to ask that we collect those fees, but then we're going to cut one check to that hauler. And I have spent some time talking to folks about this, so I think this is a viable option. All complaints would be forwarded to the private hauler. It would require a minimum number, I believe, of 300 recycle customers. So on the off chance that the costs are so high and we have a bunch of people drop out, we're going to need at least 300 of those recycling customers for this to work. If this option is chosen, it needs to be decided pretty quick because, again, the county quits receiving recyclables April 30th. Pros on this one, 25% of our recycling customer base, they have an option here. The con is 75% of the customer base that's not interested in recycling. Staff is going to have to focus on administration of this contract, you know, the details. Devil's always in the details. This is more expensive than our current cost. The fee increase to the recyclers only, I would expect it to be $7 to $9 per month increase. Somewhere in that neighborhood. I might be surprised and it'd be less, but you could see a drop in the number of customers wanting to recycle due to cost. It's harder to address customer concerns due to the vendor providing the service, because we're going to get the calls. I know we will. The city still has costs associated with customer billing. And is that the last deal? Yeah. So under all but one of these options, there is going to be a rate increase for those wanting to recycle. I don't know the exact rate increase because we have to get farther down in the details on this. So what I need you all to do is to let me know what direction you want us to head so that we can start implementing something on our end before April 30th. I will tell you, The county, I did ask the county administrator, would they be willing to allow us to use their building to transfer recyclables? And I said, I don't know how our commission, what decision they're going to make, but is that an option? He says, well, I'm sure it might be. Let us know. And so I am to let him know after tonight's meeting if that's the direction you want to go. I believe that the county commission said today that they were going to discuss recycling again on the 5th of April, probably due to the fact that we may make a decision that could impact them or not.
So these rate increases that you've estimated are based off of current households continuing with recycling.
Yes.
So we don't know what it would look like if it dropped down to that 300.
Yeah, it's going to be significantly higher if we're saying we're charging recycled customers only. And at this point, I think that's where we have to go.
Right.
And you remember our revenue that we had left over in 2021 was $63,000. So there's really no room in the sanitation budget to take any of these added costs on and still stay afloat.
I think option 1 and option 2 are extreme ends of the spectrum. I think option 3 is reasonable, but we don't know the details yet. I would be in favor of us at least researching and seeing what that looks like. I think that 1,900 customers, I mean, I don't know, $7 to $9 doesn't seem unreasonable for people that want to recycle. If I have something that I like to do, $7 to $9 a month doesn't seem bad as an added cost. To me, I understand we have to look at all options, but just speaking to the other commissioners, it seems not practical that we would drop down to 300 either. So I'm in favor of number 3, at least for tonight, to look at all options before we make a final decision. And that may come back, like you said, and it may be unreasonable, and people probably won't want to pay $40 or $50 more a month for recycling. So if it came in at something ridiculous, so maybe then we do go back to number 1, but I think at least for tonight, I'm in favor of looking at number 3 and being able to make a decision at our next commission meeting. I don't know how soon that can happen, but.
Yeah, and we may have to have a special meeting.
Okay.
I think the details of the RFP, the biggies, I've listed here.
Yeah.
Because I have talked with private haulers to make sure we would have
Sure.
somebody interested.
It just
And-
seems like, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I do think we would. I think there's going to have to be several other details that are mentioned here about how it's handled. We're going to want to make sure that we have a reputable company because we are then saying that a service is allowed. And I think we're going to have some ordinance changes too, because currently the ordinance states that we're the ones who collect. And if we're going to enter into a contract with someone, then the ordinance needs to state that the specific hauler that we designate is the one that's allowed, not other haulers.
We'd have to have that same ordinance for option 1, right?
We'll have to change the ordinance, certainly, yes.
Right. So, I mean, option 1 is not necessarily saying that recycling is dead. Option 1 is saying recycling is no longer a city-sponsored
Right.
transaction. Okay. So that doesn't mean that our community can't recycle.
Right.
It just means they wouldn't be recycling through the city. And when we're talking $79, we're talking $79 on top of what is the current recycling fee.
I didn't-
It's 26,
I was gonna say, I think it's $26.
697 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Sanitation.
That's the trash fee.
The trash.
Not
It's
recycling.
It's
but-
the whole trap. That's
Yeah.
the sanitation fee.
So if somebody's roughly $27, it may go to $34 to $36
for
for the recycling customers. And the other thing I think too, and to me, again, thinking, and we don't recycle at my house, but I can hardly get my kids to sort white and red clothing separate from each other. So sorting recyclings is even harder. But though, and we didn't do it because I didn't think we would ever be able to stay in the program. So there may be, if we have another, I mean, the other advantage I think to number 3 is if an outside company came in and there was more flexibility there, we may get more people that want to be back in the program that were taken out, that were part of the city. So
Right.
I'm just a huge advocate for number 3. I think it's the most reasonable right now with so many unknowns still.
To me, I think I would echo that with several caveats, and one of them is that we require only one company, instead of 3 or 4.
Right.
Obviously. But then, I don't know how you calculate the complaint chain, because if you start getting complaints because this hauler is not coming on the days he's supposed to, or he's, whatever the complaint is, the trucks aren't driving right, or I don't know, whatever it would be, then how can you articulate what our costs might be in addition, as far as admin, taking those complaints and that type of thing?
I thought about this actually. Well, I called the other day to pay my water bill and I had to go through an option system and it was like, if you want to pay your bill, press 1. If you want to do this, press 2. First time I'd ever used the system. I tried calling, which I've done in the past, and paid over the phone with a card, but now you have to use the automated system, so I had to go through
Can't do
it.
that anymore.
I don't know if it's an option just to say if this is regarding recycling services, press 1, and there's a pre-recorded message that says, you need to contact such and such company. Some people may go, okay, well, next time I'll press 2, and then I can talk to a real person. But at least for some, they might go, okay,
They would follow directions?
yeah, isn't that what automated systems do? I mean, they're supposed to get you not to talk to a live person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think there's options around that too. I do agree though that could take up some man time, but
Suzanne,
Or
what
woman time.
about on these private haulers, what about contamination issues on their end? Are there requirements there? Do they have any? So in other words, if they run into the same issues that we've run into here, they come back and say,
Well, that could be different for different ones. If they're taking them to their facility and they're going to separate, then they can weed it out. I
Yeah.
don't know.
yeah, I mean, surely there's going to be some of those issues.
When's the next recycling truck in the equipment reserve?
When is it due to be replaced? Oh, I didn't bring that.
I think there's a sanitation truck first, and then we could use the
Yes.
recycling truck for that. And that would buy us some time for the sanitation truck to build up.
Right. So I question whether we need to be in the business of it. I mean, support it, yes, but be in the business, because option 3 is very much like option 1. It just keeps us
And-
as the provider. Whether they're our trucks or not, we're still the provider. We're still managing the bill. We're still managing the complaints. Technically, we're still the provider
That's true, yes.
And I do want to clarify,
at a higher rate.
we pay $24.37 a month. Just so, I looked it up.
Well, I can say right now, I'm for option 1. So I wasn't for recycling in the first place, just because we've dropped down in the number of participants with that. And the contamination issues, I would foresee that there'll be contamination issues with whoever the hauler's going to be, because they've got to have some sort of requirements on their end wherever they're taking this stuff. And then that comes back between that hauler and the customers, and then the city may get involved. I don't see that I see that more as a traffic jam and calls than city getting involved more than they had maybe anticipated in handling those issues. So, and then the cost, just see it more of a problem. So I would say I'm for option 1.
How many serious haulers have you talked to that you think would seriously put in the?
One I know will. And the others, we had information from them previously, so.
is it an option, and maybe not, but if it is, could we at least ask that we continue to collect and dump somewhere where they would come and pick up and haul?
I've asked that,
Okay. So I assume that's not. an
I've
option,
asked
because
that.
it's not option number 4.
yeah.
Okay.
I looked at that.
Okay.
I talked to another provider, because remember, Waste Connections told the county they did not want to operate the facility anymore, as I understand it.
Yeah, thank you.
The next company that would be considering that would be Nicely. And I asked, would they be interested in doing that? And they decided no.
Just trying to think outside the bin here.
I have been trying that myself, yes.
So under the third option then, if it ever went below 300, then their contract would become null and void?
I think that's correct. And they might say, we'll still continue to do it, but the price is going to increase.
It'll have to go up to make that work. I'm leaning towards option 3
Option 3.
also. Yeah, I've had a lot of people indicate to me that they want to continue recycling. A lot of people have also indicated that they didn't want their rates to go up for us trying to do something to accommodate just the recyclers. A lot of them don't understand that the tipping fee for regular trash is more than what we were paying for recycled material too, so that can get real confusing.
Yeah.
You try to explain that to people.
And all those rates are increasing.
When you spoke to Nisley, what was the estimated household charge for recycling?
It was in that $7 to $9 per month range. I'm hesitant to speak it because there might be others that would come in and provide a proposal.
Okay, not a proposal, independent of working under the city's flag. If they were to come in, if we were to do option one, change our ordinance to allow an outside
Did
provider.
not give me that, they did not give me that.
So we don't have that information?
No.
I'm just uneasy because we just
I don't know
have
that
all
they
the
will.
answers.
And the problem is, TikTok comes just getting a proposal together is going to be difficult. Then once you get it back, then we have to look at how those are going to compare. There's a lot of details in it.
Right, but what I'm saying is you keep going to the proposal on option three. I'm talking about option one.
Yes, okay, yeah.
So for option one, I think for us to have all the information, we would need to know what it would cost for a household to use an outside provider for recycling. And if we knew that information, then we would know more to be able to make a better informed decision.
Well, and the problem is, they're not going to give that price because they're not going to send a truck over here for one house.
Right.
They're going to say, okay, I need you guys to make a decision that you're not doing it. And then they'll start doing their calls to determine, and they'll say, we're available, and then the people will call and pick who they want. Because they might have multiple options on that.
But under that scenario, you would have three people, you might have three companies picking up recyclables.
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. So
Right.
your truck traffic could.
Yeah, in
spot.
the
Agree.
same block.
On option
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
yes, that's
Yeah.
true.
And it can also get confusing for the customers.
Yeah.
Because what my neighbors got picked up and mine didn't, but you're a different company and maybe they're picking up Monday and they're Friday, and I could see how that could be.
Or maybe company ABC might be able to do it cheaper than the city. How come we have to use the city for trash and this company for recycling or whatever? I'm a fan of option three tonight only because I would like to know what it's going to cost for that option. So I think just at least receiving the proposal to me or the bid seems reasonable, so.
And we can put a separate line item on the bill for recycling only and not lump it in with the,
Our sanitation charge?
yes.
Yes, we can.
Because I think that's important, because if people get frustrated and they start talking about how much they are or aren't paying for recycling in Newton, they're going to compare bills with somebody else, and unless it's just a separate line item.
They're going to still see the total as the total.
I know.
Donna, can you give us, you said it was 24 what for recycling?
2437.
And that's sanitation and recycling together right now.
Right, and what is it if you just do sanitation?
It's the same.
Yeah. Right now, it's just rolled in as part of the cost of the program.
We just,
Oh, okay.
That was the
all right.
directive you guys gave
So
us when
if
we
it
made the
went up,
changes
if
last
it went up $9 or whatever, that would just be a separate $9 line item? Okay, I see. Okay, thank you.
because recycling is still cheaper than trash for right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
And we have everything in place, so we can do
What
it.
we,
Well, that's the other half of the equation, because if we don't have recycling and everything goes in the trash, our trash tipping fees go through the roof.
Yeah.
The number of tons go up by another
They are going to go up,
310 tons.
but the tipping fee for recyclables anywhere is more expensive than the trash, I think.
no.
I'm sorry.
Going to
For
be.
recyclables is higher than the trash.
It's
Yeah,
going-
that's what I
It's
said.
going to be.
It will be,
It will
yes.
be starting April 1, I believe.
May 1.
May 1.
So if we went option three and didn't like the RFPs that were, the proposals that were submitted, we could always go back to option one.
You can always reject.
Yeah. So we have options.
Right.
And,
Not binding.
But if we're going to look at option three, we need to start that right
Yes.
now.
Well, yeah, I'll be starting that tomorrow. The thing that's going to take a bit of time is to get the information from those that are recycling, who wants to continue to recycle.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, well, I don't know, how much is it going to cost? And so we have to get the RFPs back. And then at that point, if we don't have 300 people, then we've switched over, we need to switch to option one.
Yeah.
Does it seem reasonable that we may have to go past by a month or two,
It's possible.
Looks like.
and that for a month or two, there may be no recycling? It's all trash, and that's the way it's going to be until we get this ironed out.
That would be the only thing you could do is just not have any recycling until we get it figured out.
Do you need a motion or something, or do you just?
Yeah, I'd like to know that because I'm hearing different things from
Sure.
different people, so
I-
tell me which option you
I
want
would,
me
I
to
would
pursue.
move we go down the option 3 road.
I would second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for option 3. Any discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Thank you. Well, that will carry to move forward with number 3, and then so we'll get those numbers back and we'll come and have this conversation over again with real numbers. And okay. Do you know, so usually we set a bid date. Is that going to be the same with this, or are you going to handle it tomorrow
I
and get
think-
it moving? Or whenever?
I assumed that you are giving me the authority to roll this on, so we have some options to
Yes.
consider.
Okay. Yeah.
If
Thank
you
you.
want that otherwise, let me know now.
No, I think that having it as soon as possible is great. So if our next meeting or whatever, that's 2 weeks, but
I don't,
And remember, it's 3 weeks this
Yeah.
time, actually, because this is that we have a fifth week, which is still
that's right.
pretty tight turnaround. Usually, we write the RFP, put it out for 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the project or whatever, get the bids back, staff reviews those, and then they come to you all. So that's what I think Suzanne made reference. We may need to have a special meeting, one way or the other, but we will do it as quickly as possible.
thank you. Okay. All right, well, thanks for your work in that. It's, yeah, it's difficult for everybody. There's really not an easy answer tonight, so. Item number 5 is to consider an agreement to extend option to purchase real estate with Tindall Corporation to extend the city's option term. Chris or Suzanne?
I can start and Suzanne will jump in. Back in June of 2021, you recall the city entered into an option contract with Tindall to purchase 230 acres. Subsequent to that, the city also amended that option and also entered into a contract with GAF to sell that property. So what we have is the GAF, they're in their due diligence period, where at the end of the due diligence, they can either go forward and purchase the property, they can walk away, or we could negotiate another extension of the due diligence period. That's set to expire April 26th of '22. What this option agreement does, it just, the terms remain the same, except for the option term carries through the rest of the calendar year. The option fee is just general consideration of $1. Staff sees no downside. It preserves options. The city doesn't have to purchase this property, but it gives us the option to do so, to facilitate a sale to either JF or if to anybody. I would stand for any questions. I think the plan, though, is obviously GAF's under contract and to get through the due diligence period, and this extension doesn't even come into play, but so we're not up against any sort of timelines. Tindall was very courteous to allow that extension.
Well, I move that we approve extending the option to purchase the real estate.
I will second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item number 6, consider a purchase and sale agreement with Mennonite Housing for the sale of 24.28 acres of real property. Chris?
And I can tee this up. I see Byron Adrian's here too, so he could stand for any questions that you have. As you recall on this, the city granted an option agreement to Mennonite Housing to purchase certain property as depicted on that map right there. They have since executed that contract and staff has negotiated a purchase and sale agreement that's in your packet. Some of the highlights, it's approximately 24 acres for a sale price of $43,000. The PSA includes a previous concession that the City Commission had given them, which was a $25,000 credit on fees moving forward. The contract does have a reversionary clause, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the ultimate plan is 120 units, correct? That's correct. Okay, so the reversionary clause sets that bar lower in terms of any sort of clawback option that the city would have. For phase one, they would do a minimum of 32 units, and that would be subject to a building permit that's pulled before 2024, or the conclusion of 2024, January of 2024. So prior to the beginning of 2024, they will pull a building permit and develop 32 units. That is for Lot 2, and they've since replatted it, so it's a little bit different setup, right, with the two big lots on the front. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's kind of over on this side of the property here on this
Exactly.
particular map, but it has been replatted, so replatted since this. So these divisions are a little deceiving here now, but it's kind of in this area.
Then there's a second reversionary clause that set out 10 years to 2034, and that's just a minimum of 8 units, just to show some development on that term. And Byron can speak to their plans, which I think obviously include more units at a certain time period, but we didn't want to necessarily put them in a scenario where that reversion, we just want to make sure that it didn't sit as dirt undeveloped. So that is a negotiable term, but that's the deal that city staff's put together and that we submit to you. And I don't know if you have any questions or if Byron has any comments.
Just also a reminder of this little triangular piece here. Remember, that's a reserve area. And so they can't build in that. They might be able to put some walking paths, and there's going to be some drainage work that'll have to be done, and likely a pond in that area. It'll be really nice green space. But just recall that this big, larger piece down here is the reserve area, so they can't build their housing units there. So the houses will all be in this northern area. Is that correct, sir?
That's right. The city owns the property adjacent to the south as well, and there's a provision where they will provide us any access right of way that we would need to develop that property, should we develop that property.
Any questions? Discussion?
I move we approve the purchase and sale agreement as presented.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the purchase and sale agreement with Mennonite Housing. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you.
And then, Mayor, if I may, this would be
Yes.
the follow-up item. I provided a resolution, which is just very vanilla. It just authorizes the sale. So I'd ask for a motion to take that up. New item of business, which would be 6B, consider a resolution authorizing the sale.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to take up this new business item.
In a second.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. So we need to approve, we have a resolution.
The
number.
resolution in front of you, and like I said, I can give a copy to anyone that's interested in seeing it. It essentially just, the title company likes to see that official action from the governing body authorizing the sale. It references the PSA that's in front of you.
Okay.
I move we approve resolution number,
G-1276.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve resolution G1276. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thanks for your work on that, Chris, and thanks for being here this evening. All right, well, we have an executive session for item number 8, and we do need that tonight, but first we'll go around and speak on anything that we want to speak of. Thank you for being here. And we didn't have anybody signed up for Citizens Forum tonight. So as we begin, we can do that, and there won't be any business taken after the executive session, but we will come back in to close the meeting. So we'll start with Commissioner Valentine, if you want to say anything tonight, or
The go-around?
the go-around, yes.
Well, you know how I always thank you all for our first responders. And I can say tonight, never thought I would, but I had the opportunity to have their care and attention. I took a fall at the Meridian Center, and it's not about that fall. It's about the care that I received from our first responders. And my co-commissioners were right there, too. I appreciate Rich, who was right there, made me lay down and wouldn't let me up. And he was doing what he already knew was right. And then I looked up, and there was Chief Roberson and Deputy Chief Lehman, and then the PD. I'm so thankful for the care. They are absolutely exemplary in their service. And Chief Roberson, having a nursing background, I think was awesome for him because he was very thorough in his care and examination of me. And then my husband, I needed to call him and let him know that I was coming home. And bless his heart, he did not want me to drive home. And so Deputy Chief Powell, and Lieutenant Thompson took me home, made sure I got home. Poor Lieutenant Thompson. That car I have is not made for him. Bless his heart. He filled that car and then some. But it was just so good. The care, I'm just so thrilled. And now I know what it's like when I say that we have excellent care. So thank you very much. I can't thank Chief Roberson, but I thank you, Corey, and Chief, for the others. They were right there. We have excellent people on staff, and the city staff. I had everybody asking me. I just was so thankful. Thank you for the care of the co-commissioners, too. Asking me how I was doing, calling me. I was very much appreciative of, and actually, Commissioner Cry offered to take me home. And that's when I told him, oh, no, I think I can take myself home. That didn't pan out that way. So thank you all. I really appreciate it. We have excellent people in all the right places.
So Commissioner Valentine, did you ride in the cop car or did they take your own car home?
Oh, he drove me in my car.
Okay.
And I got to thinking when I was
wondering,
I just
there.
want to make sure that the Harvey County Now is not going to write in the
Yeah.
newspaper that Commissioner Valentine got a ride in a cop car.
Well, when
so-
I got home, I have to say, the first thing that hit me was is Lieutenant Thompson getting out, and then here pulls up Deputy Chief Powell, and then everybody in the places that, because we have townhomes that live across from us, and then I'm looking, oh my gosh, are people looking out their blinds? I wanted to make this a real occasion when they were standing out there so that nobody would think that we were in trouble. And so, but it all worked out well. We just have exemplary people. Thank you very much.
I bet no one thought that Commissioner Valentine had the police coming to her house because she was in trouble that night. So,
No, I'm sure they probably did.
okay, Vice Mayor Kane. Didn't say the whole story?
She told me she was gonna drive home, this is what I said to her. Behind the wheel of the car, I pick up the phone, call 911. The person driving in the bottom of the car.
Yeah, he did.
Tag, was arrested.
We're well thankful that someone was there to take you home that night then.
Yeah,
So-
he did. He did offer to do that for me, so I quickly shot that down. But
Vice Mayor Kane.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Stinnett.
No, sir.
Commissioner Cry.
No.
Okay, Chris.
No, sir.
Suzanne? No. Donna? Okay, I had something, but it was actually maybe more to say to Kelly, but she's not in here right now, so. I guess I suppose I could ask her when we come back from an executive session.
Yeah,
okay.
before we
Yeah.
adjourn.
Okay.
Open session, for sure.
All right, so we have a motion on the table, and I do want to ask it, and I want all of us to maybe have a quick discussion about it. So I'll just wait for that when we're done. Chris provided with us our verbiage tonight for the executive session, so if someone wants to make a motion for that, we'll
Just come in.
convene, and for 10 minutes, correct, is all that we need. Okay.
okay, I'll go ahead. I move that the City Commission recess into executive session to discuss property available for purchase. The justification for closing the meeting is to discuss the details surrounding the possible acquisition of real property. Time and place at which the open meeting shall resume is 8:20 p.m. right here in Commission Chambers.
Okay, thank you. Oh, we have a motion. Yeah, is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thanks. launching.
How many days did it take to sell everything for one piece?
Less than 24 hours.
Pretty remarkable. That's awesome.
And you don't have to haul it, so you don't have to pack it.
Well, they were all 220 volt stuff, and it was like, I have one 220 volt in my garage at home.
Yeah, we'll do it
outlet,
next
and I did not want to always be unplug and plug in, so it was
Right.
the
No,
easiest thing.
I didn't know people were.
Okay, it's 8:20. Kelly and I were the only ones that didn't go because, Kelly, I wanted to have a quick discussion about something that we have been talking about. But just to get this out in the open, it seems to be an antagonistic topic to a certain degree. LEAP. I have tried to, I had a conversation with Kelly last week when I was in Colorado and just asked, what do we do? Because I have tried, I emailed Georgia and I have not heard back. And Kelly has not either. So I think that it's, what my best recollection of everything is that the city commission expressed an interest in keeping LEAP under the umbrella of the city. And so at what point do we decide, and my email was, obviously couldn't share it with everyone. Here I can talk about it though. It was that I would like to see us get a meeting scheduled, and I would like to get something planned before the end of March, but have that meeting sometime in April, and I haven't heard back, and it's been at least a couple days. So I read back again through the ordinance, and we're supposed to have 9 people on LEAP is what it said in the ordinance. We only have 5 on there. Is that correct? Is there just 5 on LEAP? And that's I think that's part of the problem is it's been inactive for so long. At what point do we, as the commission, just say we're going to appoint new members, we're going to pull the reins back in on it and just start over again, review the ordinance? Because how long ago was LEAP started? 12, 13 years ago, and Denise is pointing her finger at me, so. Or not at me, but to me. She's trying to turn her microphone on now.
Well, it's easier to do if it's
Okay.
not on there. Okay, so at the last meeting in April, you will make your appointments to all your new appointments, and I will be getting you a list of those, hopefully by the end of the week,
Okay.
of people who will be up. And so I'm not sure what the LEAP board looks like at this point, but you could start completely over with the LEAP board if their appointments are up.
Okay.
And you can discuss, you can change, I believe you can change that ordinance, obviously with a motion to change the number of people that need to serve on that.
And the ordinance is accessible online should be the most recent version if there has been any changes to it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you said you would have who's up by the end of the week?
I can
what you
have,
said?
yes, I
Okay.
can have, I'll have a list to you about who, for not just that board, but for all the boards of the appointments.
Okay, so if somebody is not active on it, can we remove them and appoint somebody new, or do they have to resign for LEAP?
Well, unless there's something that, I don't know, Chris, you might have a
I'd
different call
want to
with that.
double check the ordinance to make certain, but I would assume that you could remove a member like most.
Well,
appointed
yeah,
members.
and just because I'm speaking for me, but I want to see LEAP active.
Right.
There's not a point in having that board there if they're not meeting. And my best understanding is that they haven't met for quite some time. And so I guess what I gathered from that evening that Georgia was here as the representative for LEAP that evening was that many of the members had an interest in going to NCRJ, and that's okay, or that they had an interest in working with NCRJ. I guess to make it public, they can go to NCRJ at any time. They can serve on both boards. They can serve on one board. They can serve on neither boards. They're not obligated to serve. They just need to let us know if they're not wanting to, and we can appoint new people to LEAP. Or if they don't communicate with us, we might just need to replace them with people that are willing to meet. That's where I'm at. I mean, sort of frustrated with the fact that
Yeah, I don't know.
nobody's returning emails
Some
to us.
boards have, and that's stated in their ordinance, or maybe that they do have, like, you have to meet so many meetings, and if you don't, then you're automatically off, or something like that. I don't know what this
Chris, can you
ordinance says.
review and let us
For sure,
know?
we can bring it back
Okay.
at the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Just what options we are to have LEAP be
course.
at least an active organization, even if it is with current members and adding or whatever to bring us to that 9, if that's what they're supposed to be on there. So,
Well, and I know in the past, they've communicated they had trouble getting quorums, and I don't mean to speak for Chief, but I remember we've had this discussion too with Lieutenant Yoder is one of our staff people that's assigned to that group. And I know Mike has said that they've had difficulty finding a time, and they've tried mornings and evenings and noon, and so maybe it's a matter of, I mean, again, to your point, can they find a time where they can meet? Do they still want to meet actively? And/or if we can't get 9 members, maybe we only need 5, maybe we need 7, I don't know. I mean,
And if it's an ordinance
yeah,
change we need to do, then let's do it. But I think we
Absolutely,
just need to
sure.
bring it up to where it's
Sure.
meeting the ordinance, and then we also have an understanding that they should be meeting or that they need to be meeting.
No
So,
problem.
Yeah, okay. Kelly, did you have anything? That's all that I had. So did you have anything you wanted to add tonight to this conversation? Not about LEAP, but just as we went around, you were out of the room.
I'm sorry,
so.
yes, thank you. Just briefly, your esteemed city clerk got promoted on the state's CCFOMA board to be the secretary now. She was the treasurer last year. I mean, it's a big deal. That's the State City Clerks and Finance Officers Association. So we're very proud of her. And as always, we have an amazing team, and I'm incredibly grateful for the wonderful people I get to work with.
We have some of the best right here in Newton. So, all right.